Hey, everybody. It's been quite a while since we've done one of these, so here we are. My name is Isaiah Whitmore, and welcome to the So I've Been Thinking podcast. I have absolutely no idea how long it's been, but I do know that with posting to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth, and getting a better phone, a better setup, even though right now the setup is speaking to everybody out of my car, it's working. We look good. The message is getting out, and that's really all that matters. Got a couple different things to talk about today. Feels good to be back. Feels really good to be back, actually. I'm excited. The first thing that I want to do is today, So I've Been Thinking podcast is our spoken word Sunday. I've written on and off throughout my childhood, young adult, and now soon to be in my 30s in the next 2 years. And I just wanted to take this time to perform something that I just wrote. It's really a culmination of what I've experienced this year, what I've experienced the last 4 years, and I hope it resonates with you guys. It's called Purpose. Can you pivot with your feet planted? Will they shine without semantics? You know, the sun never ceases. It knows its way round. Darkness needs light to exist, while your duality gathers dust. Wonder why you feel shit? You can't act on a whole part of your character. Trapped. Shadow. Blessings abound for the grateful. Things manifest as your test. I hope you pass. The score is legendary. Tarry with me just a little longer. Enemies that can't stop watching. Make sure you talk about some sense. You got you, so the fuck is endless. See, God in flesh is something you like to believe. Until you find a mirror, faced with power, conceive. That's Purpose. I'm also trying to get better about not just going off the dome, actually making sure I have a script so I can actually cover all the things I want to cover, and I can be as thorough and as well spoken as I intend to be when I am sharing my thoughts and ideas. So something I want to talk about is manifestation, right? I went through one of the biggest letdowns of my life 4 years ago, from having my name dragged through the mud to thinking that I was supposed to do something in American electoral politics, which I have absolutely no faith in anymore. My wholehearted concern now is community organization and making it to where our communities don't need the government, to be honest with you. We don't need agents of the state, agents of neocolonialism, imperialism, genocide, and all these other just atrocious things. We don't need them to step in. You know, like with the resources that we have as a community, like we've got to come together. We have to be the ones to save us, because at the end of the day, all of them, no matter if we're fond of them, no matter if they're good people, they're post turtles. They're people that are in place to keep us from tearing this whole thing down and burning it up, right? I say all this to say that when all of that happened, I felt like a failure, to be completely honest with you, an absolute fucking failure. I like jumped from relationship to relationship. I really couldn't find my footing, even though I got into entrepreneurship and working in global political strategy. To be completely honest with you, I wasn't happy. Like, I wasn't happy at all. And that wore me pretty thin, to the point to where I went to Manchester in 2022 and got broken up on, no, I got left on my birthday. A situation that I never should even set up the way that I did, but it happens like that sometimes. When you believe and love as deeply as I do, sometimes you make foolhardy choices, and you gotta live with them. and I'm doing the best I can now in today's day to live with the choices that I have made, both the good ones and the bad ones. It's important to acknowledge and understand both, in my opinion. Now, all of that backstory is important because I got into therapy 2 weeks after almost having an emotional breakdown after coming back from London. Yet another situation where somebody that I was deeply enamored with and loved both individuals I went to go see, just basically made it clear that it's like, I'll respect you as a person, but I'm not really, we can't do this type of thing. And so in that, it brought up so many feelings where, you know, the mistake that I made when I got back from Manchester 2 years ago was I basically crashed out, stopped taking care of my responsibilities, so on and so forth. It negatively impacted the relationships I had, and some of those relationships I'll never get back as a result of that time frame in my life. And I think it's just, at least for me, it's important to admit when you've been great, and it's also important to admit when you've been absolutely shit. So most of us are guilty of going through points like that, and I apparently am chief in situations like that. So it's been 8 weeks, about to be 9 weeks in therapy. My last session with this specific therapist is coming up on Wednesday. Bittersweet. I'm in a much better place than I've probably ever been in my entire life, when it comes to just like truly understanding myself, why I am the way that I am, how I'd like to do things moving forward. And one of the biggest things that I'm going to continue to do is manifestation, and I encourage you to do the same. Now, manifestation, I feel like a lot of people have like corny ideas on what it is. For me, what manifestation is it's having thoughts and ideas about what you want for yourself, your community, your life, but specifically the things that have to do with you. Okay, the things that have to do with you, it's important to not only write them down and to think about them, but to say them out loud, and to then live a life that's in accordance with those things. Since I've started doing this within the last, now about to be 9 weeks, my life has completely changed for the better. Opportunities, meeting people, the types of connections that I'm looking for, and everything starts to align when you find yourself. It has to, because once you find yourself, the reasons that you found yourself have to find you. Because there's no point in you having this like newfound understanding of self. There's nothing to pour it into and use it for. And the universe does nothing for no reason. Everything is a point. Everything has a purpose. And this is not an excuse for things that are atrocious, horrible. It's not an excuse for any of those things, because there is no excuse for things that are deplorable. But when it comes to you, okay, if you want things, write them down, speak them, think them, and go out there and get them. And I promise you, they will find you. And I'm just, for myself personally, I'm really excited to see how things continue to find me. Because right now, I tell you, they finding me all right. They certainly are. Also, it's really important, if you do have goals and ideas and things you'd like to do in 2025, if there is anything you can do to start to apply those things to your like day-to-day setup right now, don't wait until January 1st. Like, I usually start in November, which is, November is when I started therapy. Start to think about the things you want to do differently. Start to think about experiences you want to have, people you want to meet, places you want to go, whatever. Start to think about those things. So once January does roll around, and if you're like me and you're from Minnesota and it's cold as hell outside and you don't feel like doing anything, the goals and the manifestations that you have, hopefully, in that intention, will push you through. Something I'm doing, encourage you to do it. Hopefully you'll see results. My now arch nemesis. We're going to talk about real political campaigns versus money grabs. Okay. All right. So when I ran for public office in 2020, it was during the pandemic. Everything that I planned basically went to shit, to be completely honest with you. People showed themselves for who they truly were. I've lost respect for so many different people. It's actually incredible how you can like hold people in really high esteem And then just the allowing life to play out will show you who is for you and who's not. And as difficult as that is, learning to understand and accept that will save you a lot of heartache. I feel like it's a lifelong process, but it'll save you a lot of heartache. So I encourage you to accept the things that are and the things that will be. Because trying to hold on to the past and all these other things, the good feelings, don't let those good feelings go, don't let those memories go. Just understand there's more and there's better to come, and those people were in your life for whatever specific season they were supposed to be, and now it's time for you to move on. That's so incredibly important. Okay? Something I'm working on. I'm going to work on it for my entire life, but it's so incredibly important to make sure that you allow life to be what life is supposed to be. So accept the people that are in your life for as long as they're supposed to be. Love them, cherish them, treat them well. And if they're called onwards, away, up, wherever, let them go. Let them go. You'll be okay, I promise. I say all that to say, I seen a clip of an individual that not only was like deeply involved in trying to drag me through the mud, but they basically thought that if they took me to enough community events, weddings, out to eat enough, that instead of me pursuing my own political ambitions, that I was going to work on their campaign. A mistake that I made back in this time frame was, if you don't like genuinely trust someone or believe what someone's saying, whatever they say their politics are, go with what your gut's telling you. If your gut's telling you this person's untrustworthy, it doesn't actually mean what they say, it's just a means to an end, run. That's what I should have done. But oftentimes a mistake that I've made is my desire for a thing will be so deep that some of the signs that will undoubtedly show themselves, you'll like slightly look past those things because you feel like, man, I don't need to, like, just because I see this, it doesn't mean that it can't be that. And I'm not at a point in life at all anymore where I'm willing to look past things that are glaringly obvious. You gotta accept things for what they are. Now, I say all this to say, when I ran, we barely raised $1,000. But within that, I basically received 1 vote for every $1,000, which is practically unheard of. Practically unheard of. Most of the time, you don't get the amount of money they raise compared to the votes they actually end up accruing is disproportionate in ways that should tell people that electoral politics is not going to save us. It's not. Most people are not invested in it. Most people shouldn't be. And the reason most people are not is because most people, at least to some level, are extremely distrusting of the American government. They have every reason to be. There's things that are happening all the time that the general populace is not in agreement with. And it's a so-called democracy, those things still continue. Guess why that is? Anyways, so I want us to understand the difference between people that potentially do want to use a platform for something positive, as opposed to those that are quite simply just using it for a money grab. You'll see this thing that happens sometimes where someone will already be in office. They don't even have an election coming up for a while, and they'll run for another position. So, like, let's say like a city council person decides to run for senator. Now, for the most part, they know they have no chance of winning. They know that with sponsors and all the rest of that, their ability to, like, name recognition and all the rest of this stuff, again, if electoral politics even is actually valid, I genuinely don't think that it is. But if any of this stuff is as it's said to be, you are not actually capable of accruing enough support in all the ways that you're supposed to accrue support in order to win. Because at least in this capitalist society, it's not people that matter, it's money, right? So the amount of money you raise is seen as making you a viable candidate, as opposed to your policies, the way people respond to you, your actual desire to tear this thing up. And so people will put themselves in the ring for various positions, raise X amount of money, and disappear. Or if they don't disappear, they'll just go back to what they were doing before. And with what they were doing before, guess where your campaign donations are going? You ever gotten a refund from donations you made to a political campaign? I'm sure you didn't. And most of the time, they don't use all the money that you give them either. Politics in this country is one of the biggest scams that exist. And at least to me, I think that we really need to start thinking more about how organizing our own communities is the only flipping way we're going to get what we want. One of the most successful groups at doing this that we've ever seen was the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party, I just literally found out that, had no idea that Huey P. Newton was married, number one, to a beautiful black woman that currently is running the Black Panther Party Museum in Oakland, California. So Oakland, I'll see you guys at some point next year, because if there's anything that I love doing as a black traveler, it's going to places that are significant to black history. And the Black Panthers are kind of significant to black history, just a little bit. So that is mostly what I have for today. I hope I gave you guys something to think about. Hopefully you guys like the spoken word. Hopefully you guys are doing what you can with your efforts to make not only your life better, but the life of the person next to you just a little bit better. If we really want to see our world and our communities look the way we want it to look, our individual success, unless it's directly poured into the person next to us, means nothing. And if we don't begin to see it that way, if we don't truly begin to see it that way, it's all for naught. It's really all for naught. Because I'm not the type of person that can sit by, have everything, and the person next to me have nothing. Can't do it. It's not the way I'm set up. So, this is Isaiah Whitmore with the So I've Been Thinking podcast. And as always, peace, love, power, Pan-Africanism.